Greetings, this is Brian Cochran, and I'm going to talk about 5 mistakes a business made this weekend opening up their brick and mortar business for the grand opening. That's coming up next. Greetings, again, this is Brian Cochran with briancochran.org, and I want to talk to you for the next couple of minutes on 5 mistakes that I witnessed as actually a vendor for a grand opening of an event that I just went to. I was a part of this past weekend, and I thought I'd give these 5 tips for those who are going to open up a brick and mortar business, and to help you to not make the same mistakes they made and others make. A lot of businesses make the same mistake because you'll see what we're talking about right now. Number one, they had no procedures in place, and because they had procedures in place, they're all over everywhere. It was a restaurant that just opened in Los Angeles, California, and a great location right across the street from a playhouse, and right down the street from it's right in the film industry district, and great location, and they didn't have any procedures in place, and so business, either online or offline, first impressions is everything. So the impression that in the folks that I talked to out in the outside patio area where I was, they complained about it took so long to get their food, and I'm trying to explain to them, hey, by the way, please give them another try because they're just getting open, they're just getting themselves established. It's a grand opening, they're going to make some mistakes, so hold it to their inexperience versus holding it to their heart. Their heart is want to do right. They want to be able to take care of their customers in the long run, but because they didn't have these things in place, they rushed to open the doors. And so I want to tell you, if you do something like that, and they try to make this huge event. They had DJs coming in, throughout the day and in other rooms, and they had bands and all kind of stuff going on. But it was so because it wasn't done in a systematic form, or they had a plan or a strategy when they were going to open. It was just really a challenge for them. And so I don't know in the long run how it's going to hurt business, good or bad. But one of the things that they did as well, when I talked to them afterwards, I said, they had a bunch of folks, loitering outside, out front, and again, the location is a phenomenal location where they had a smoking area out back, so those that wanted to smoke, they could have smoked out back. But again, there was nobody there to explain to them where they need to go to smoke, or just hang out. They had the back patio because most of the folks hadn't been there before. So actually, 99% of the folks had never been there before because it's a brand new business. So guess what happened? So they didn't know. So I was explaining to them afterwards, in the demographics that came for the grand opening were younger folks that we're not the target market for across the street. So like again, across the street is a playhouse where it's older, established, baby boomers was across the street on one side, and then down the street there's another event right down the street that were younger or families, actually had kids and families. And so it was close to the end of the event, and I was packing. I'm going to kind of give a long story short. I was packing, and so I was standing out waiting on them to move the car so I could pull up into the driveway. So that way, they had a driveway, a service entrance on the side that I can go back up and load up my equipment so I can get out of there. So while I'm standing there, I saw these two ladies walking by, and they had a barbecue pit out front, so the food was smelling good and wonderful. But because all these folks that looked like thugs, and there some were well dressed and some weren't, and some were cussing and some weren't, and so forth, that they lost out on an opportunity, especially being a brand new business, because they had some people there that scared their customers away. So I explained to them. I said, look, you're pigeonholing yourself by having only one type of person there, especially when across the street is doing something else, which is going to be a big support, where you can actually end up doing some catering for them, and they can cater events over there and have small events across the street, after parties and all that kind of stuff there. But because of how they did the grand opening, and they really did not plan. And so there's a saying that I say all the time: those that fail to plan to fail. And so they didn't have a strategic plan of action. And so instead of them they had a red carpet out front, and folks were standing out front, loitering around and that kind of stuff. But the folks that came across the street were holding their purses and kind of walked around because they were afraid to come into the restaurant or walk right by down the sidewalk. So you got to be careful. So again, they rushed to open because if they had a person working with them, a consultant of some kind that specializes in event planning, so that way they can help them plan out the event, the outcome would have been a whole lot better. So number 4, they rushed to open up and weren't really prepared to have a system or actually have a strategic plan in place. All right, we're the last one, number 5. Number 5 is they did not count up the cost, or they didn't have a budget. And so because they didn't have a budget, they overspent getting into the business. First off, let me say that because they did it on their own, had never done a lease before, had never negotiated taking over an existing business. Actually, the business was out of business, that's what was so amazing about this, the deal that they spent. But they spent the majority of the money going in, and so that hurt them because when they got time for them to do the grand opening, a lot of things that they needed to have in place, signage that they didn't have, staffing that they didn't have, some of the other things that they needed to have for a grand opening, even a grand opening sign outside on the front of the building letting you know it was a grand opening, for instance, that other folks that weren't invited could have come in and participated and have been able to support and bought some food there. Didn't come because they didn't know it was a grand opening. And so just little stuff like that they didn't have because they ran out of money. They lost out on a greater opportunity, but they may have just postponed the grand opening. Or as a matter of fact, if they from the very beginning that had gotten a consultant, someone that knew more than them about structuring the business, putting everything in place, and helping them either through an accountant or someone that understands the business as far as the business side, they know food and they understand food costs, but because they bought this business, and again, I'm sharing mistakes that they made, so that way when you go in, if you're going to take over an existing business, or you're starting fresh, whatever the case may be, don't overspend on the front end and not have money to open up. I've done that before. I can say several times, several businesses, I spent so much money going into business that by the time I got ready to open, I remember this one time downtown Pomona, California. I took over this bank and I turned it over and it was called the Vaults, and I changed it. I made the name into the Vaults and converted it into a multi-purpose room. It's going to be an event center with a billiard hall. It's something similar to what Dave & Buster is today. I launched it before they even came out here to California. So anyway, I can claim the glory for it because it's documented, as they say. Anyway, but it was a mistake because what ended up happening was, because this is back in the early 90s, I did not understand the importance of getting a consultant, getting a real estate specialist, and someone to go over my attorney, somebody to go over my contract, someone to go over the cost analysis and all the things that I had a plan up here, but I didn't have a written plan, and I really didn't count up the cost when I was doing it, because if I'd have had a professional at the time like myself now, praise God, I probably would not have done it for a couple of different reasons. Because in doing the research, I found out later on that the property owner was suing the business, and because he was suing the business, the city took it out on me. So they didn't put the plans through with the fire department, and so here I'm getting ready to open, and one of the guys in the fire department, he was a friend of mine. They were passing by one day, and I was standing outside sweeping, cleaning up. And I don't know if we're painting outside. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was outside doing something. Saw them, ran over across flagged them down, and ran across the street to invite them, give them flyers, and say, "Hey, come down, be my guest," and so on and so forth. And guess what happened? It was the fire battalion chief there, and he's like, "Look, I didn't see this. I'm not coming on an inspection. I don't know anything about you guys. How you gonna open and it hasn't passed through us?" And so, guess what happened? He came to the inspection based upon what they said was different from what the city said, and because I didn't have an expert in doing it when I did it, it ended up costing me twice as much money, because I had to do my doors different. I had to do some handicap things that the city said I didn't need to do, but the fire department said I needed to do it. And again, because I didn't have an expert, and because I didn't do it the right, I didn't go in right with the right person that had helped me to do that. My specialty was actually the marketing, promoting, and the doing the business. My inexperience was at that time was doing leases and working with cities and principalities at that time to be able to get the business up and running. So, number 5, make sure you count up the cost that you're able to build it, because if you open the business and you're undercapitalized, it's going to reflect. And the thing about it is, yeah, you may want to rush to open because finances are tight, or you want to catch a certain thing. Like in their instance, it was one of the chef's birthday, so he wanted to catch it on his birthday. But the downside was, because going back to the restaurant we've been talking about through this video, that because they weren't prepared, because their procedures weren't in place, because their staffing wasn't together, because they rushed to open and they did not count up the cost, the opening, even though they got through it, was a failure, because they lost an opportunity for the long run. Yeah, they'll get their core back because their friends and family will support them. The bad part about that, the friends and family may get a discount or don't pay anyway. And hopefully they do pay anyway to help support their business. But because they have no experience in actually running a business, more than likely their friends are going to mooch off for them anyway, so they're going to end up losing more money than they gain. So those 5 tips, those 5 mistakes that this business made is the same thing, some of the same mistakes I've made in the past, and the whole reason why we're doing the videos we're doing is to help you to build your business, to not make the same mistakes that I made and others are making as a consultant or as I do business, because I am an entrepreneur. So the things that I learn, I can come back and share with you, so that way you don't have to go down that road. My name is Brian Cochran. I hope you're blessed by what was said today to help you to grow your business. Don't make the same mistakes they did. Bye-bye now. If this video has been a blessing to you, I was going to help you with your business and not make the same mistakes that others have made, do me a favor, go down below and leave a comment to let me know some of the areas that some points that I may have missed, or if I'm on track and if you got something out of it. Also, right over here, subscribe. Oh, it's probably over this side. Subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe if you're on YouTube. Let me know how we're doing. We'll see you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.